Hi guys, Dwayne here from Yugatech, and for today's video we have a new entry-level offering up for review in the form of the Nubia V70 Max. This smartphone has an eye-catching price point of under 5,000 pesos, and with how much it's worth, we're here to figure out if it's a good find or not. So without further ado, sit back and let us tell you all about what this device offers. We got our review unit in gray, which has what feels like a polycarbonate frame and etched glass back panel. The phone feels sizable and has a good amount of weight to it. This felt a bit surprising because it's rated for drop resistance despite how flimsy it comes off as. In our opinion, its design comes off as the love child of an Honor X9C Smart and a Realme device. For those wondering, I'm basing this on how its camera enclosure was fleshed out. I'm all for adopting design languages, but we have to pay respects to the ones that did it first. Personally, I'm really into how it looks because it's fairly simple and muted. Of course, preferences are subjective at the end of the day. Users will notice 3 sensors on the camera bump and an LED flash situated outside on the left. We'll cover these in depth later in the review. Moving to the front, we have the phone's display panel with a camera situated in a water drop notch. Users will also notice that the screen comes with notably thick bezels. For buttons and ports, we have the volume rocker and power button doubling as a fingerprint sensor on the right side. There's also a dual SIM tray on the left, which also works as a dedicated micro SD card slot. At the bottom, we have a single speaker grill, USB Type-C port, a microphone, and a 3.5mm audio port. In addition, the phone comes with an IP54 rating, meaning it can handle splashes, but users should definitely avoid dipping it in larger quantities of water. Overall, the phone is alright under this segment. While I am certainly a fan of its back panel, the screen wasn't the best. The notch and bezels make the phone feel older than it should. The Nubia V70 Max comes with a 6.9-inch screen with a refresh rate of 120Hz that supports HD+ resolution. Audio output options include a 3.5mm audio port and a mono loudspeaker. The display feels pretty good when you're watching a video at home, but in contrast, using the screen under direct sunlight is a bit annoying. Maxing the brightness out drains more power and won't really remedy it anyway. Generally speaking though, colors come out okay and favor accuracy over vibrance. Meanwhile, the speakers were surprisingly good with decent mids and highs. This means that maxing out the volume doesn't take away from sound quality like we would expect from an entry-level device. For biometrics, the phone has a side-mounted fingerprint sensor embedded on the power button and face unlock. Enrollment is fairly easy for both security measures, but the fingerprint sensor does have an edge. This is because it works quickly and as intended, while the face unlock is a bit of a coin flip. Because of this, we advise users to just use fingerprints or even an old-school PIN instead. For optics, it's equipped with a 50-megapixel main camera that is supported by a 2-megapixel depth sensor and an AI camera at the rear. For selfies, it comes with an 8-megapixel selfie snapper as well. The cameras can produce surprisingly decent shots even when it doesn't have optimal lighting conditions to work with. It leverages post-processing, which takes roughly 3 seconds to load after a user takes a photo. Seeing as it's an entry-level device, it's a given that details aren't really retained well. Colors also come out a bit dimmer than what we'd prefer. These are evident should the user zoom into photos they've taken with the device. Selfies, on the other hand, come with a similar experience because light and solid color are favored over detail and texture. As mentioned though, they still come out quite decent. We understand that expectations shouldn't be that high with the pricing of the device, but frankly, it does quite alright under this segment. While this is largely credited to Nubia's AI integrations for post-processing, users should be able to enjoy taking quick snaps with this phone. The phone ships with iOS 15 based on Android 15 out of the box. Putting it simply, it feels like a polished stock Android skin. Usually, there's not much to write home about under this segment. Then again, we did encounter a weird scrolling issue. For reference, the display started lagging and stuttering in general use, whether we're just browsing the web or just navigating through the interface. We noticed it generally registers touch input late and basically bugs out when under a lot of load. That being said, if users don't want repetitive issues, you should definitely look into closing inactive apps more often. Going back to software, users have up to 6 GB of additional virtual memory to work with. This can be tweaked via settings. It also comes with Google's suite of apps and a handful of bloatware. Usable pre-installed apps include TikTok, WPS Office, and Block Blast. There's also a folder for hot apps and games, which admittedly doesn't really recommend the best options. As for its user interface, standard gesture features include the app drawer, notifications, and quick toggles from the drop-down menu. Like I said, polished stock Android jazz. To be fair, this isn't necessarily bad. After all, user experience should feel great when an interface is easier to take in. Powering the Nubia V70 Max is a Unisoc T606 chipset with 8 cores and a Mali G57 GPU under the hood. For reference, our review unit also came with 6 GB of RAM and 128 GB of internal storage. We've been able to use the phone for browsing, streaming, and gaming. Despite not having the highest storage configurations, it can actually handle a title like Genshin Impact without heating up. Of course, this is provided that it's played with the lowest graphics settings enabled. Plus, frame drops occur if there's too much happening on the screen. In a way, that should tell users that it should be used for dailies at best. In other words, optimal gameplay is quite a reach with this device. We believe that playing modern gaming titles won't really give users a seamless experience. So yeah, keep your expectations level, guys. All things considered, I believe it is still reliable. It just won't give users the smoothest experience out there, which is a lot to ask for given its pricing. By the way, here are our synthetic benchmark scores for the Nubia V70 Max for those interested. This device packs a massive 6000 mAh battery with support for 22.5 watts of charging via USB Type-C. Judging purely from these specs, we expected it to excel in battery life. Unfortunately, that was not the case. It turned out to provide us with some pretty average numbers. Again, seeing as it's a relatively affordable pickup, we'll be leaving you guys to judge. In PC Mark's battery test, the phone was able to perform for 13 hours and 44 minutes. In our proprietary video loop test, it was able to provide us with 16 hours and 40 minutes of playback. Again, the results aren't up there with the best of them. It's still decent though. I mean, it's safe to say that it should be able to manage for most of the day fully charged. Moving on, connectivity options include 4G, Wi-Fi 5, and Bluetooth 5.2. These work as intended with no issues encountered on our end. Call quality is also fine, providing users with a stable connection. This is either over Wi-Fi or a connection via a mobile network provider. Wrapping up, the Nubia V70 Max retails for 4,699 pesos. Interested viewers can find this available online via Lazada, Shopee, and TikTok. If you're ever out and about, it's also available at Nubia's physical stores in the Philippines. From what we've gathered, I think we can all agree that this device isn't the best. However, it's still a reliable find with an attractive price tag. The V70 Max is decent if we consider that it can handle the essentials or daily smartphone activities. This includes streaming, browsing, and calling. Sure, it won't be smooth, but it works. I think the biggest surprise for me is how decent the cameras ended up performing in spite of my expectations. Anyway, I can see how it could definitely work as a spare phone, but not a main phone. So, what do you guys think of the V70 Max? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed our review, don't forget to leave a like, hit the bell icon, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. You can also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and yugatech.com for more tech news and reviews. Once again, this has been Dwayne, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.